because Ronaldo has a champion pool that wants to get out there. Once again, Corki gets banned, which kind of illustrate or can potentially illustrate NSC incoming.
And I think one of the things that we can think about when this Azir shows up is how it's going to be piloted in comparison to all the other Azirs that we've seen today, because we have seen not the full gambit, but a spectrum of Azir play and how aggressive it can be, how much it's used as a playmaker versus as this long range mage, because these two different styles clash both in terms of players and throughout the game. The other thing, of course, that I'm looking at is that support matchup where I'm really hyped on Wagner versus Vander and how these two both experienced support will play out against each other.
And this is looking really interesting. We get an Orban on 3. I think there's still one powerful AD carry up. Well, depends on how you look at it. We have Lucian coming through as one of the few champions that's usually banned that we could see be picked up in this instance. And yeah, there we have it coming through. Now, that of course could give over a Lucian Nami, but you could also just pick Ezreal and Nami up in a bot lane for itself that can actually match that aggression down towards that bot side if that's what you're looking for. But normally, we would just probably see an AD carry and a jungler get locked in here.
Yeah, Lucian Nami, I mean, there are certainly answers to it, as we already saw, especially in the form of that Kalista. But if we look towards the bot side here of the screen, Kalista's taken away. These early skirmishers are becoming fewer and fewer, so things like the Lucian become a safer pick. The Azir that you had predicted earlier, though, now is something that needs to be answered, and a Zoe is an answer that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, it's something about playing around the range, matching the early push, which is something Zoe can actually do and super annoying to play against depending on the RNG of balloons you get. So, I see obviously fine, Corki Band comes through, it's something that Go are looking for. I'm very curious to see like the Nautilus coming through because I feel like on the side of Misfits, they are just looking for a bot lane where they pair up Lucian with a Nami here and then oh, Yuumi, I completely forgot about this champion. I can't actually believe it wasn't first picked or even prioritized.
Oh my god.
Yuumi Twitch would have been such a good response. I'm so used to seeing this champion banned. Yuumi Lucian is a little bit interesting. Yuumi does very well with champions that want to scale up. Lucian's scaling is fine in this meta, but because he's so short range, and because there's still greater champions that does more damage in the late game, it can be very difficult. But from the side of Go, if you want to mitigate the bot lane pressure, you could just pick an Ezreal, was what I was about to say, but they're matching the pressure with a Twitch here.
Okay, interesting. So, given the fact that we've got this skirmish-heavy bot lane, given the fact that Yuumi, well, good with Lucian, isn't ideal, I think one of the things that I have to be thinking about for Misfits is how they can approach their jungle pick, because that hasn't been grabbed yet, and there are a lot of junglers that do synergize really well with these healing, shielding supports. Things like the Olaf that we saw yesterday, often paired with the Karma, things like the Viego that go really well with the Yuumi, and I'm almost as excited to see that aspect as I am to see this bot lane, because you could pick Yuumi here and into the Twitch Nautilus, just sort of sack lane, try and come up with as many resources as you can, use that early pressure to Lucian to go essentially even, and then turn it into a souped-up jungler in the mid-game.
Yeah, I think for now as well, moving into the second ban rotation, on the side of Go, they're banning junglers because Sansara hasn't picked a jungler. And then you could say, well, Karim haven't picked a jungler either, so why shouldn't Misfits ban junglers? Well, the problem is that if they start banning junglers, Go has the first pick, so you're realistically banning out of your own champion pool, and then they get to take a takeaway. So the best thing that Misfits can do in this instance is say that they're probably saving counterpick for new Q. Let's get rid of some of the most annoying top laners we can deal with. We'll let them have their pick of the jungle pool, and then we'll just make the best of it either way. So let's see what we've got banned so far. Trundles and Sao, Viego's still available, Wukong's off the table, Volibear as well has gone through. So loads of options to pick from here. So Volibear over to the side of Karim, and potentially now Sansara is just going to be looking for a match of Viego, which kind of favors Volibear in the early game, but, you know, later into the game can be decent for the Viego, although be it the composition into Rogue right now is not, is not very good for Viego.
I guess not. I was thinking that, you know, Go must know that Viego is this obvious answer, and Misfits give us something very different. They've opted out of that hyper carry jungler, though, giving Yuumi, I want to say, less options in this later game. It's really just about Lucian, maybe occasionally Zoe, and for that reason, I'm hoping they grab a bruiser top lane, because you want a lot of versatility, especially when it comes to this mid game.
It's going to be something like or so yeah, it's a classic blind pick coming through. So the reason why we see the Jarvan coming through is just because it's, once again, Sansara's playstyle. He's very good at influencing lanes, and playing Viego, which is, of course, a melee champion, into Twitch and Azir is incredibly difficult. You can rarely ever get on towards them on the back line. So at least now with the Jarvan, he can try and influence lanes in the early game. You can play for the Zoe, you can play for the Gnar, you can play for the Lucian. That's kind of what we're looking at. I mean, if that kill was locked in, that was for sure a champion you're going to be playing up towards.
Oh! The auction selection. This is still something that you can play towards, but also, I want to say, Akshan, relatively self-sufficient as well, and able to impact other lanes in a very similar ways we saw Adam do last game. NuQ now has the option to pressure things like this Zoe that are falsely mobile with the ultimate. Doesn't have a whole lot of escapes inbuilt into their kit, just temporary ones. So I'm excited to see what NuQ can do with this, especially given that his high burst champions like the Akali are already feared in the LFL.
So I think there's a lot of pressure on Misfits to get the ball rolling in the laning phase and the early stages of the game, because I do actually believe that they are getting heavily outscaled from the mid lane and from the AD carry position, just from a team fighting point of view. Of course, Zoe, if she scales up well, can also find a bubble, get the pick up, and then there's something to play for. But if we take that out of the equation right now, just straight up going into the laning phase, if the Asia goes unchecked, if the Switch gets unchecked, they're going to be happy. So from the side of Misfits from here, there's going to be a lot of pressure onto Sansara in the beginning, because you need to get your lanes ahead. You need to be the facilitator. You need to be the one that gives them the golden experience lead that they can play for, that can, hopefully get you some early objectives in the early game with a Drake or the first Herald coming through. Because also just on the top side matchup, that's going to be heavily Akshan favored. You can't trade as Gnar into this. Usually Gnar doesn't mind trading with a lot of top laners, but specifically into the action, it's so difficult.
All right, well, let's jump on over to the game and see how this ends up working out for Misfits Premier versus Team Go. Misfits Premier versus Team Go. I think one of our closer matchups of the day. Last time, it was Team Go that ended up taking the victory, but with the way that Misfits Premier performed during the Super Week that we alluded to earlier, I've still got high hopes for this squad. Let's see if they can pull out a victory here, or whether one of these, or whether Misfits will go victory-less in Week 5.
Okay, potential early game shenanigans coming through. You take a look at the top side. Go has gathered around here, looking for anyone up here. Well, they're probably looking for Kakas more than anything, and now they're going to be looking for the River Ward, see if he's going to be there. He's not, but if they just wait here in the bush, Kakas might be running up there in just a bit, and he's not.
Unlucky. Taking their resets, it was a good attempt, but we'll try again next time. I will say though that while Team Go did get the at least data that Cat's Cost wasn't there, on the other side, Misfits Premier, they ended up getting real hard data for later. They've got the word on the red buff that will give them a really good idea of where Kareem is in the early game, hopefully enabling Zanzara for some of these early ganks, especially because he's starting on the blue buff up topside.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm actually curious to see if the bot lane of Misfits Premier is going to do a fake leash, just due to the fact that no data, she's saying, has been garnished from the side of Go, but they're just going to go straight to lane, so it should give them a decent idea of currently what's happening. Actually, I've been a little late, so there might be a little bit of murder mystery in the mind of Go here. They did ping out on the red buff, so they don't actually still know where Sansara is going to be. So, could potentially be something they can work towards the bottom lane, but for now, Sansara is going to be making up towards the top side. He's going to be spotted by the only ward they placed down on NuQ.
No way! It just can't be real. NuQ, I will say, doesn't have a whole lot of escapes early, so it will still be a flash burned. And I think a time well spent from Zanzara, even if it isn't getting the kill.
Yeah, level 2 gank in from Jarvan. Was almost making his way in towards the tri-bush there to try and go in for a return gank with no flash. But that's fine for now. You can let that be in the top side. You can clear out your jungle, move down towards the bottom lane, and then reset for the top lane afterwards for the return gank. But speaking of that bottom lane, good trading coming through from the Misfits Premier bot lane.
Bag takes a lot of damage, and Smiley's not having a great time either. The sustain from this Yumi is going to be really valuable for Woolite simultaneously, and we've almost got a passive proc going. I know struggle as the Yumi, trying to walk up and get that singular auto for the additional mana, but without it, Misfits are still quite comfortable down here and control the entire wave.
They most certainly do. It was, I think, a crash early from the bot lane of Smiley and Viking, but then afterwards, while the push started to come through, took a little bit of a bad trade. Mid lane, once again, it's an interesting point here. It's one of the few lanes that Asir will actually get pushed in is when you have the Zoe. But what is curious to me is what we're going to be getting out of those balloons. But now, it is just going to be a little bit of a useless item in a range versus range matchup here. But you are hoping to get like the likes of Ignite or Exhaust and all these things that can really just tip the scale of the matchup.
Then you just ape them. That's what I do on Zoe. Grab a nice summoner spell and go for it. Because especially with Ronaldo on the Azir, he's got to focus so much on actually buying appropriate space here. Nuke, flashless, does have Kareem in his corner and a wave crashing, so has recovered really well from the earlier gank, and in a lane like this should actually be fine unless Zanzara comes back to cause trouble.
Yeah, but what it'll also give was just breathing room for Kakas. As we already established, this is a very difficult matchup for the Gnar to play. So the fact that, once again, Zanzara used some of his early pathing time to just kind of neutralize the matchup instead, and now actually have created a point of attack for them, I think it was really good from them. But once again, the early game needs to go well from Misfits as well. They need to be able to dictate this pace, or else they're just going to be falling to the scaling coming through from Go.
One of the ways that they can hope for that dictation is through control of the dragons, control of the mid and bot lane that they currently have. Zanzara is up towards the top side right now, finishing off the Gromp, but with Drake spawning in 20 seconds, you can still go for a relatively early dragon if you take a casual stroll down to the bot side after a nice reset, get your Jarvan all nice and healthy, and then you've at least got something to show for an early game.
Yeah, 100%. Down towards the bottom side again, Kareem in a position where he can punish. He's currently not spotted. Good movement for him, but it requires an overextension. We might see it now from Woolite. Oh wait, he's gone back. He's gone back, sorry. It flew the fuck of Walker Room actually and just back to his Grumps here. So even though Woolite presented an opportunity, he wasn't around.
It's both disappointing and impressive that he wasn't there, but that he managed to get to the Grump without revealing himself on any wards from Misfits. Like, big props for being able to do that, though it does ultimately mean they can't punish the overextension from Woolite. Now, of course, we've got 3 members popping up towards this top side in favor of Misfits, the rest of them mirroring on the side of Go, but it's not going to turn into too much as Nuke was able to back off effectively.
Yeah, they want to continue on that top side to shut down the auction, make sure that he doesn't snowball, but Nuke, he's been doing a good job at playing the role as a little bit of a weak side. I just went into the invisible, moved away from the turret, and as soon as the play is kind of dissuaded from Misfits and they go back into their lanes again, he steps up and he can just garner some of the experience and get resources still to his name.
Nuke knows exactly what he's doing with this as well, because the fact that he's able to play weak side isn't something that his team is necessarily forcing him to do, but that he's happy to, because attention paid to Nuke to shut him down now means time for people like Ronaldo and Smiley, where they're not getting pressured, to be able to hit those late game scaling points that he knows they'll be very strong in. So Team Go are benefiting in a large way from even when their top laner chooses not to get resources. However, with this dragon now being potentially the focus, as Zanzara has moved down to the bot side, Team Go are thinking about it as well, and they are the ones with more river pressure right now.
They are, but they haven't started it up just yet. I think they don't have the intel on Zanzara, but it should just be a freebie. They could just start this one up immediately, but they're not looking for it. They get the intel that Crocs are not up, so they should also know that Zanzara should be on the top side.
Well, now Misfits know exactly what's going on as well. Kareem pops out of the brush, lets bot lane know that he's there. The push goes off without a hitch, and now Team Go are able to pull from their bot lane to get a little bit speedier of an execution on this very first Cloud Dragon, giving them a little bit of extra movement speed and hopefully speeding up the rotations later, but it won't mean too much in the laning phase.
I definitely don't think so either. Like, it's just going to be nice having it out of the way, really, knowing that it's not going to be a potential soul. Cloud, it's still definitely one of the more underwhelming Drakes, but now cross-map potentially to come through. They failed the blast gun with Zanzara, so he used the Flak and Drac already.
Oh! what a bubble, though. That is going to be big damage on Nuke. Flashing away doesn't even save him. Shayak saves the play up top and gets Katskos his first kill of the game.
Yeah, despite a little bit of fumble from Sansara, as you said there, Shayak setting up his team for success, and Nuke, very late flash come out. Finally, they're able to punish a play on the auction on the top side, and even better, they still get the flash, which means that Nuke still is going to be under a lot of attention, still is going to be a weak point that Go can attack.
And it's an Akshan that's been sacrificing farm as well. Down 20 CS and down a kill, down even a level. Misfits Premier's pressure has paid off, and we've got a little bit of pressure in the spot side as Team Go ended up popping out of the camouflage and getting a nice chunk on Misfits Premier. Won't mean much in the long run though, because remember, Yumi.
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't love that little cat? But moving away from the cat, that was not his last, that was just the flash he picked up, just for the record, that was flashy. Now with the amount of time that they've been able to pressure on the top side of the map, Misfits Premier could try and look.
Alright, well, we've got a insta-cleanse and flash. That one was his, so this time, Shayak will escape death, with Wagnerim not being able to make this roam really turn into a kill. We've also got, interestingly enough, Vander having matched the roam, now on Shayak to help clear out some of these waves and give a little bit more safety to this Zoe. Misfits could try and fight in the mid lane if Ronaldo overextends.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, now with the pressure being off towards the top side before Wagner come in and try to be a little fancy in the mid lane, well, I was actually expecting Misfits Premier to just start up the Herald. They have the pressure through the top side of the map. They get the push in. Oh, no.
Well, I didn't know in time the lockup is there, but the exhaust is clutch, and so is the final chapter. How is Kareem the one on 300 HP in a 2 versus 2 situation? Misfits Premier still managed to out cooldown?
I like the question mark at the end.
I'm not even sure it's an outplay, right? Like, they just sort of pressed all their buttons and walked away.
And it worked. Kayak, no flash in the mid lane. Kareem trying to see if he can punish in that. In the bot lane, Smiley was able to push in away for himself, deny a little bit of experience from Woolite, but unfortunately, Smiley was not able to be in a position where he could still pick up a plate. But, I mean, if the bot lane's backs now, Smiley is patient, he could just push it another way, get a plate for himself, and push it in.
You know, we've spoken of level 6 spikes before, in the 2 games previous. It's actually been a really important point, and when we finally got level 6s being hit now, it doesn't feel like there's a team that benefits from this disproportionately. Misfits Premier do get the access to the Mega Gnar, of course, but on the other side, you finally have basically a full Twitch now, and an Azir that is enabled, so it's probably the most even game that we've seen in terms of that level power spike.
Yeah, I think so for sure from a drafting point of view, but I still think, like, it requires more finesse, if so to say, from a side of Misfits Premier. Like, they have to make the plays on their side of the team. Like, they have to get the top lane going, as they've been doing a very good job at so far. And now with the Herald in play, they need to equalize another gold advantage as well to make sure that they can continue the ball rolling in their favor, because Go has the kind of favor that they can sit back a little bit, right? Just get the first 3 items through on the Azir, very low range this outside of the Zoe on Misfits Premier's roster or team composition, which is something that, once again, Smiley benefits on the Twitch. Ronaldo benefits on it on the Azir, so they don't mind just sitting back.
Not at all. I was actually wondering, because of this Rift Herald that you have, whether you want to use it in the mid lane or whether you want to use it in the bot lane, because especially if used in the bot lane, there's a chance that you create a situation where Smiley could freeze a wave and get even more of an advantage off of that. So I'm not sure how I'm feeling about Rift Herald usage right now.
Well, I think, like, one thing you could do is just, like, use it on the top side if you really want to equalize now. But for now, let's have a look at the bottom lane.
I guess we could start a fight. That's one way to do it. Ult gets used from Smiley, and Woolite does back off, but hooked right back in. The channel's interrupted, and Woolite could go down. The heal doesn't come in time, and now Vander, all alone underneath the tower, has nowhere to go. A huge cataclysm from Zanzara picks up 1 kill in response, but it's still 2 in favor of Team Go. Shayak landing the bubble, can't hit the paddle star far through the minions, but Zanzara finishes it off and now runs for his life as Chayak goes forth, cleaning up kills, and again, saving the play for Misfits.
Oh, I love Zoe. What a champion down in that bot lane. Picks up the extorts, picks up the smites to slow the movement speed from Karim as well. And Chayak goes absolutely huge on the Zoe. Rift Herald come through just to get him a little bit more of gold injection as well. What a roam from Chayak. Really saving the play down here.
This Zoe pick, I had my doubts about it. Like, I saw the Azir and I was like, you know what? Not the traditional response, but whatever. It feels fine if a little bit old. Chayak makes this look shiny and brand new. What an incredible, not only play there, but play up towards the top side. The consistency is really what's getting me about this Zoe.
And it's also so important because, you know, it's the only champion. Remember we said Twitch and Nasir really got into the composition of Misfits Premier, with the exceptions of Zoe, was what we said. And that's really great now for Misfits Premier that they've been able to get loads of gold onto Chayak too, that he's suddenly a point of attack. He can be the one to find the bubbles, to find the picks, and just eliminate a target before fight even begins. That would help out tremendously for Misfits.
And especially with the control wards that they've already got along this river lane, I mean, nothing is more important to a Zoe than being able to hit you from Fog of War, and that's exactly what they can do. Misfits, however, are trying to contest this dragon. They didn't get the first one, and they sure like a crack at the second. Teleport available for Cat's Cost in the top lane, but the steal from Zanzara is all that they need. Jarvan still able to sustain with this Yuumi, and from over the wall, Chayek's laying in the damage as well.
Oh,
Zanzara delays down the Cataclysm just like we needed him to, and gets shut down in the meantime. Chayek finally finishing off the Volibear, and Woolite cleaning up on the backside means that the Dragon and the team fight go to Misfits.
All of these skirmishes just going in the favor of Misfits as well. It's so beautifully played. Even Sansara finding a beautiful Cataclysm. The kiting from Woolite afterwards, combined with the passive to get in the double shots. And once again, Chayak, I mean, the man of the hour for Misfits from here right now. So much of the damage. And even just Vander with the Yuumi ultimate. Every single puzzle piece just fit perfectly for Misfits there.
This was a really, I want to say nice play, but also crucially timed, because for a team that did need to get off the races early, they still had the power point in Chayak, and it was looking good. Now it's gone from good to great as a paddle star half-health Vignerim. I think that encapsulates the game state perfectly.
I think you'd be 100% right about that. And even then, like, Chayak can put Yuumi on top of himself, get some extra ability power just to amplify some of the poke if that's what they're looking for. I feel like there's lots of options here. And we said it, the one pick that deals with the Misfit, or that deals with the Go comp, is the Zoe, and that's Chayak, who's obviously had a lot of responsibility on him. He's been able to deliver on it so far.
Going crazy in this mid lane so far, now with a blue buff to bolster that even further. We've only got a few seconds until this Rift Herald spawns, one that should be going to Misfits Premier with the pressure that they've got in this mid lane that is so important when it comes to converting into objectives. Right now, Chayak searching for the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, doesn't find it, but does bait out the hook from Vig, and that means another Cataclysm goes down, and a support ends up dying. Look, though, at Chayak, who gets jumped on by Kareem, flashing away and trading it right back. Another kill going to Zanzara. The fancy feet on Chayak are just too good.
And Chayak is just, you know, wandering around, puppeteering his opponents, finding the bubbles, finding the flashy outplays, and it's just working out wonders for him. Vander almost disrupted that play a little bit by hitting the Prowler's projective one towards the sleep before the paddle start, but either way it does not matter because of how fed Chayak is. They can pick up the second Rift Herald for themselves, they can look towards the mid lane. Zoe sieging is her essence of the kit, so if you want to open up one lane, mid lane would be hell of a target to go for.
It's really the last remaining outer tower as well. We haven't spoken about him too much, but Woolite has been able to collect so much CS and experience in these side lanes. And it's going to be meaning a lot when we get towards this mid-game where Lucian is arguably the strongest on this one-item, two-item spike, where he'll be able to deal a lot of burst in a very short amount of time to the relatively squishy champions of Team Go.
And that's, you know, that's probably why they're struggling a little bit with it as well, the squishiness. But for Go as well, we haven't really seen them at their strongest yet, where they finally get a team fight coming through. But it's also just due to the fact that they're not really dictating any pace in this game whatsoever. Every time a play is being made, it's Misfits that dictating it. They're the one who's got the pressure. They're the one who's the aggressor. And speaking of that as well, applying Rift Herald in the mid lane can look to siege here as well. It's just going well for Misfits at the moment.
This turret's going to be gone. There's no way that it stands up after the Rift Herald, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. A warning shot laid over the top of this play as well. Keeps Kareem in the mid lane. Now that you've collected every outer tower, there's the additional bonus of being able to set up further vision for this Zoe and start a play inside of the jungle on Vignorum. I saw the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but I didn't expect it to turn into a kill.
I mean, you know, he's just sitting miles away, hitting these bubbles, setting up the play for his teammate. He doesn't even have to be part of the play. He's just such a huge threat for Go right now. Shayek, absolute MVP performance in the game so far.
And now it's turning into, like we talked about, the vision that lets this continue. The pink wards aggressively placed inside of the topside jungle of Go make it impossible for them to contest if you are pushing into things like the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, into the paddle stars that could be hitting you from downtown, from Baron Pit. They could be coming. And with all the effort that they're putting in to clear out topside now, it might look good, but keep in mind, they're going to have to do it all again in 16 seconds around Dragon.
Yep, and so far I don't think there's a lot that Go can do to actually respond to that dragon, and that is why you can see them posture up towards the top side instead. They're just going to try and look to cross-map instead. They have objective bounties up, so if they can take care of at least one of these turrets while Misfits is busy taking the Drake, that's a good silver lining for them. So that's what they're going to be looking for. At the same time, Zanzara's just picking up the Drake, and as soon as that is taken, then Misfits can start grouping up again. But even then, Karkas is aggressive on top.
Going 1v2 right now is still fine here, despite not having the Mega Gnar, because Woolite has shown up. It almost takes down Nuke casually. Ronaldo getting exhausted does still force the flash from Woolite, taking he and Vander to safety. But in the 3v3 up top side, we've still got that dragon going over in the bot lane, and Misfits are comfortable as ever.
Yeah, I mean, even if we're in a situation where it looks like Go can finally get the response through, it doesn't even end up happening. We are out of the game real quick. We do have a pause in the game. We apologize about that. But to go back to the point, it's just like Misfits are just losing anything. Even in this instance where you're like, oh, let's just trade the dragon for the turret. It doesn't really matter too much. They still manage to send up their members, disrupt the play, and in turn still get what they wanted out of it. They burned the summoners from Ronaldo too, so he's suddenly at point of attack in the next team fight. So I think it's going great for Misfits so far in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really clean sort of transition for them. I'm looking towards 2-3 minutes from now when Baron becomes available, because that is going to be the real test for Team Go. It's already very difficult to contest at this point, but with Misfits having such a lead right now, the wave clear that Team Go has is really the one thing that can keep them in this game. The Azir from long range, hopefully being able to eliminate a lot of what would otherwise be problematic minions.
Yeah, I completely agree with it. I think it's just going to be difficult taking that Baron initially, because you are going to be running into... While you still have the Zoe that can look for the poke herself, your tanks to tank it up is going to be the Jarvan, it's going to be the Gnar, and there is still the potential that you're going to be threatening some damage from the Azir, from the Twitch as well, if they find their right target onto it. But I think it's definitely an objective you can start up, look for a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and then just turn immediately. I think that's more what we're looking for if we are Misfits from here.
Hopefully exactly what they'll be able to set up. Control wards still aggressively positioned. I want to shout out that Misfits have also been doing a really good job of making sure that waves crash every time that they push them up, so that Team Go don't have an easy way to collect CS in safety. You can see it right now with Smiley being forced to walk up past the fallen tier 1 tower, making it more difficult to split resources and to allocate them effectively. Team Go are having to be really choosy with the little amount of gold that they're allowed in this game, and it's allowing Misfits Premier to gather so much more relative strength.
Yeah, usually what's happening here?
That base! The fountain!
what just happened there? Was that... Okay. I thought I was supposed to see something specific, but either way, I think Misfits, when you are the team that is ahead, you want to kind of just keep the gold lead ahead. And what you do by doing this is that you push out your lanes, you go invade on jungle recon spawn timers. So every time Raptors is up, every time Wolves is up, you need to commit to a play to try and look for this a little bit, as you can see Sansara is doing now. Why counter jungler is so good is because you get experience for yourself that's on the map, but by also doing this, you take it away from your opponent, which would usually have it. So you kind of get like double the lead from counter jungler in general. And that's why usually when you have the lead, you can't just start up Baron. You can't just run down a turret. You want to be able to slowly but surely choke out your opponent, and that's the way to do it, as we're currently seeing from Misfits.
That's exactly what's happening. Even leaving the small raptor left behind, adding insult to the injury of having almost no income. Baron is up, but waiting for a little bit more pressure on the map. Perhaps a pick like we were looking for earlier. And that pick could be happening up top side. Woolite's getting engaged on. There's a teleport matched to Joyin. And it's two members of Go that show up, with Smiley dealing a lot of damage. Zanzara goes on the engage. The final chapter locks up too, but Chayak has just now arrived. Is he even needed? Finally, Zanzara goes down. Chayak does a lot of damage from the side, but the first kill goes to Smiley. And Chayak finally flashes forward, finding another, getting exhausted, going golden. Will he go down? The answer is yes, as Nukew takes him out, reviving Vignoran and setting them up as 5 against the 3 remaining of Misfits.
Oh, the fight continues though. Dives in Meganar.
Goes huge. Meganar isn't enough though. Gets 1 kill back. Smiley is down. Nukew goes low but is still up, and Vander gets taken out. Woolite trading 1 for 1, and it's another finish off from Nukew. Very well played, and a much needed fight from Team Go.
Yeah, but also Chai getting way too overextended there, flashing to kill the support. Really not a trade you were looking for. I think he wanted to get the flash he saw from Vitrum initially, get the kill, flash out, but that's just not how it went. Too much CC, and they just overextend there. Few kills get picked up from Go. They can collect on the objective bounties. Luckily for them, no jungler was alive, so Go couldn't start up the Baron as soon as the play was over, but that was a disastrous fight. Go making the game competitive.
One more of those, and I mean, the game is right back even. That's the thing you've got to be afraid of as Misfits, who are now down a lot of summoners. They expended so much to try and get that fight going in their favor that even though they will eventually have most of it back, they've still got a lot of positioning to worry about, and have lost out on the vision game in the meantime as well. This Baron, though not taken, is harder to access and harder to pressure for Misfits.
It definitely is, and I still think even on Go side, you're in the same boat. You don't have a tank. Well, you do have the Nautilus and the Volibear, but starting up the Baron, it's not going to be, okay, let's just burn it down immediately. It's going to be in a position where you want to trade on towards your opponent. You want to suddenly just turn on them instead. Vigdrome trying to look for something, does have that Hexpress available, but he was caught on a ward, so it's going to be difficult for him doing it. And now Misfits is going to be in a position where they can just play on 2 lane instead if they want to. They can crash in a mid lane wave here. They can move down towards the bottom side where Kakos is coming in with a wave. And they can try and look for a potential dive with Nukew. The problem is that if you invest too many members on the bot side, then a potential Baron could just be started from Go.
Teleport from Chayak to bring him into the mid lane should give Misfits a lot more pressure, but as you're talking about, Zanzara is making an effort to stay relevant to this mid lane. I believe almost spotted out there, definitely now on the ward. There's a lot more members of Team Go moving up top side, though, and they could collect their first tier 1 of the game. It's only autos away from death. Smiley could go grab that extra gold and the extra bounty that comes with it, getting Go a little further into this game.
Yeah, they continue with it. 20 seconds on towards the 3rd Drake, at least the 3rd Drake for Misfits from here, 4th game of the game so far. And it just looks like from the posture and from the map setup we currently have that Misfits will just be the team in the lead for this one. There's pink wards through, there's good solid vision. If you have to face check this as Go, you're going to be walking into a lot of sleepy trouble bubbles. And because of this, it looks like Go, they're just going to forfeit the objective with Kakos starting up the Drake for himself.
I mean, you got what you needed off of the last fight, and for the moment, Ronaldo finishing off the death cap is a big spike for the side of Team Go. They're going to want likely the Runins on Smiley next before they try and pick off any more fights, but Katskos completely uncontested right now will be able to get a small additional marginal advantage for Misfits from here before they start looking towards this next 5-man team fight.
And we are still just in a point of time where it's fine to be slow for Go, right? They have 2 items now on Ronaldo and on Smiley. This is where you want to see them excel in team fights if they can open up. Up towards the top side, Woolite might be face checking a Volibear.
You ever play any... Oh, hold on. There we go.
Yep.
Ronaldo finally takes him down. I was waiting for the kill to go off for what felt like way too long. Woolite actually getting picked off now. could be problematic. It doesn't seem like Go want to start up the Baron, however. Let's see if this hits. Does not. Are they going to go for this? They are.
Well, I definitely think they're in a position where they can start it up and try and turn, but they're just not looking for it fully as a team right here. Hesitant decision making from Go, and that can cost you windows. So now Woolite 10 seconds on the death respawn. He will be able to probably join the fight if they're too slow about it, but now 5 members has started up the Baron.
Catskots has the Meganar right now, though. This is a very dangerous thing to be playing with the Cataclysm and Meganar both available. Zanzara flashes away, but into the front lines goes Catskots. Cataclysm's been laid down, but the Meganar doesn't find enough, and Shayak isn't able to access too much of the fight either after that initial pick. We'll see this poke from the Zoe laid down, though. Look at how ridiculously low new Q goes. The Baron is secured by Team Go, but Misfits Premier have gotten 2 picks off the back of it.
Yeah, but still, from the side of Go, the fact that you managed to pick up a Baron, that's huge for your composition. You were in such a gold deficit. Now you at least get some breathing room as well. You get to play on the lanes as well with the Baron-empowered minions. So you can't complain about this. 2 members going down, but 3 still retaining Baron. That's a win.
It's a solid victory, and one that, as we've seen before, enables the Azir so much. Ronaldo, split pushing for right now, will be able to take a reset, likely get even closer to an item completion, and then be able to join the team for turning things around on Misfits. The squad that has been on the front foot for so long, that has been able to shoot you from Fog of War for so long, now we'll have to deal with, if the waves are set up correctly, nigh on unkillable minions, and an Azir that is more than happy to poke you from long range.
Yeah, and also with the Baron-empowered minions, Zoe's going to be struggling a little bit more now. Of course, the wave clear still exists because she's 3 items Zoe. She's still going to be able to take care of some of them. It's still going to be way more reliable from Go because they can just stand behind these Baron-empowered minions. They know that Chai is going to be using a lot of his cooldown to try and take down the minions instead of using it as poke. As I say that, disconnect with the bubble, but no instant follow-up, and now the siege should commence.
Oh, where did Kareem's health bar go? Already half health. I mean, this turret will expire, but Misfits are putting up a fight, and it's more poke is landing than I would have otherwise thought. Enough poke, at the very least, to push Go back and say, you know what, we got that initial turret, we're not looking for too much more. They've even evened up the gold to the point where it's in the touching distance of around 3,000, and this is a much easier game for Go to turn into a win now than it was minutes before.
100%. And I mean, they also have the momentum with them here. 3 items now, and the Azir has picked up the Sonyas. That means Ronaldo can be a little more flashy with his plays too. If he wants to get in towards the backline, find a Shurima Shuffle, can Sonyas up afterwards, so he won't be the point of attention if the attack comes through. But I still think from Go, you're still waiting for that potential Lord Dominic's Regard coming through from Smiley. I wonder if he picks it up on this back. No, it's still going to be just a little bit before he's able to pick it up. And that means some of the tankier champions, like the Jam and like the Na, is still going to withstand some of the attack damage coming through from Twitch and Auction.
And you get to rely on the fact that we've made it all the way to 28 minutes. The gold is basically even. Smiley's on the verge of completing a 3rd item. The scaling that you spoke of in draft is going to come to fruition, and Team Go are going to have a much easier time winning the team fights if Bagnerum doesn't get picked off. Nice collapse on Smiley from Zanzara, but Kareem routes the team, eliminating Zanzara with a nice chomp and assist from Smiley. It's a very clean pick, and Team Go really get exactly what they came for and finish off the promise that we were just making, that their late game scaling is enough.
Yeah, and such a discohesive fight as well for Misfits. Sansara dashes in, everyone else dashes out, and all of a sudden he's just sewn down to the point where he'll get blown up. 40 seconds before the potential soul for Misfits comes through, and they drop the ball. They lose all the priority around it. You can see the river control right now. Multiple pink wards coming through from gold. They retain the pressure. Smiley isn't in Viz. Could look for something here if he's cheeky.
Team Go won this head-to-head last time, and well, it looked like it was slipping from their grasp. They are not too keen to let it go. Kareem still a formidable front line on this Volibear. Has the ult ready, has that backline dive available, and more importantly, the max health that he's been able to make really good use of in playing pseudo frontline in these fights. Cat's Cost, however, needs to get this Meganar available, and it's just expired. It's not going to be there in time.
He stole it!
Zanzara for the steal, though! That's the soul for Misfits! Can they get out of the fight in time? Doesn't look like Team Go are too keen on committing. And that's going to be Misfits walking away scot-free with the Dragon. Flash forward from Vigram. Hook misses. He gets deleted. Kareem is forced to ult out and in from the back. Woolite follows it up to pick up him. A triple kill. And now perhaps even the mid laner as a desperate Ronaldo is unable to escape from the Predator Chayak.
Sansara got caught off guard before that Drake fight started. Doesn't stop him from coming in, stealing away the Drake, picking up the soul from Misfits. And by the flip of a hat, they take the game back into their favor. That looked like it could have been the potential good disruption of Go to just continue with their own neutral objective stackings on the Drake. But no, immediately Misfits, they strike back, they pick up the kills, they pick up the Drake, and they pick up a few turrets.
And this Dragon Soul is so good for them as well. With a team that was just starting to hit their stride in scaling, the armor, the additional durability that you now have as Misfits, the forgiveness that you're granted on these missteps is going to be so impactful for every single team fight to follow, as many or as few as they may be, especially for members like Zanzara and Katskos who already have the armor necessary to pseudo frontline. They can now effectively tank up much more damage from people like Ronaldo and Smiley.
Yeah, they're just straight up tanks at this point as well. So Anathema Chains has come out from Centaur as well. He's probably just put that onto Ronaldo, so he knows that, oh, I never have to go for any magic resist again. I can just build fully armor now, and now having those resistances of the Mountain Soul, well, you can't really complain about it. And it's looking good now. Small 20 seconds before we get that Baron coming back on towards the map. It's a long mid lane as well for Misfits. They can push that in to the point of the inhibitor turret, making sure that it takes longer for Go to come in and set up around the Vision, around the Baron, which they're now going to be fighting for.
That's one of the other things about the Baron, or rather about the Mountain Soul, is that it makes taking Baron so much easier. You've got the initial shield that makes it so much simpler to turn, and Zanzara right now, walking through 3 members, takes barely any damage on his health bar, now starts off an engage onto a new Q who is asleep at the wheel. And with that pick, with the Baron up, with the Mountain Soul, Misfits should be able to find themselves a nice little extra 3-minute advantage.
Yeah, Kakas can just stay on the other side of the wall. You can see as well from the posturing of Chayok, he's standing in a position where he can just move in with the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles. And you know, another factor I'm just realizing now, having this mountain map as well creates more terrain for Chayok to throw the bubbles through to get some extra range on towards them. If they want to walk into these objectives, there's always rocks that are going to be pathing besides, and the bubble is just going to be even more annoying when they do that.
It's just suffering. All the choke points that are created, you're giving me nightmares right now of what we could see on this map still from Chayok, who has done an incredible game, 10-1-6 right now. It has been basically ever since that one overextension into the team fight, no flaws. Amazing game from this Zoe, and even our observers can appreciate that Chayok's been going pretty crazy. I'm excited to see the next couple Trouble Bubbles he hits and how fast those people die.
Yeah, I've heard our observer's favorite champion is Zoe, especially that quote about chocolate cake. Kagas might be in for a little bit of a surprise, like a birthday cake here. 3 members down towards the bottom.
Unfortunately, no Meganar. Still is pretty darn tanky, though, and the rest of Misfits have arrived. Turning it around with the final chapter and the heal, they're going to be the ones collecting the kills. Uno reversing, Go into the ground. It's 3 picks taken down, and you've still got the Baron, so likely a base to be cracked.
Yeah, teleport's still available from Kakas as well. If he wants to TP, he can do it onto the what's the first minion while it's tanking the tower shot. It's just going to be Sansara tanking it up, actually. He's got the Yumus. Kakas has used the teleport at the mid lane. They want to escort in multiple waves, so there's a pressure point in the bot side. There's going to be a pressure point in the mid lane as well. Death time is still 20 seconds. Everything is looking bright for Misfits.
I appreciate that Smiley's in camouflage, or rather Nuku is in camouflage right now, but I would not walk up, and even so, his support gives him away. The sleep sends him to his grave, and again, Chayok collects the last kill of the game. It is only fitting as Team Go, who won the game last time these teams faced off, will be taken down by Misfits Premier.
And it's just that, well, I don't know if it was that easy. It certainly took a little bit stumble and falling, but Misfits Premier, they bounced back from yesterday's loss. Go, unfortunately,